Good evening, John Boy, the U.S. Piper coming at you. YTPC, what's up? I don't know. Do people do that still? I don't know if they do that still. I'm old enough to not really care, I guess. But chilling in the Liberty Lounge, literally the Lounge of Liberty. A little Yingling traditional lager. Not one of my normal rotations, but that's what the wife brung me the other night. Another thing she brought me, I guess it was last week, was some of the Captain Earl's private stock, which, if you're not familiar with it, is a wonderous creation distributed by C&D. It is basically pressed, a stoved pressed lump of tobacco-y brownie goodness. Can you see the goodness? Can you see the goodness? Obviously, I've been into it a bit, so I think I've had 6 or 7 bowls of it. And suffice it to say that I am a fan. I'd sail with the captain anywhere as long as he's got tobacco like that, by God. In keeping with the nautical theme of the tobacco. Anyway, it's a light heavy blend, but I'm going to tell you not to be afraid of this one. If you don't like Latakia, you're probably not going to be in love with it. But if you're just not afraid of, if you just don't like the lat bombs, but you're not opposed to Latakias, you shouldn't, neither should you be afraid of it. Because it kind of reminds me of their description of their Mystic blend in that it's just so well blended that everything has its own voice in the chorus. And that is what this is. This literally is a chorus, a well tuned, well practiced chorus of rich tobacco goodness. It's got some choice Virginias in it, including Red Virginia. And I'm not clear on if it's all been stoved as a cake or if just the Virginias have been stoved. It's kind of unclear in the description. Somebody else, if you know, feel free to comment. But everything is just beautiful the way that it works together in this blend. Now, there is a lot of Latakia. You saw how dark that was. That's a lot of Latakia. There's also some Cavendish in it. But it's not one of those where you're going to taste like you're smoking some Lane 1Q in with an English. Like, it's not overdone at all. It's just in there as part of the chorus, and it's perfect. There's some white burley in there, and there's some perique in there. It's not a scary amount of perique. It doesn't make it so peppery. You're like, oh, that's not perique. You know, if you're not into vapors or blends that are particularly pungent with their perique note, I don't think this one's going to scare you. If I didn't tell you it was in there, you might suspect it was there, but I don't think it's the first thing that would hit you. The Latakia, you would definitely know it's there. But again, it's a very soft, well-rounded, creamy Latakia. It's not that, oh, that's a punch to the face with Latakia. You know, there seems to be some differences within that realm. And the amazing thing is that you can have all these big players, but none of them is stepping on everything. Like, you can still taste the range of Virginias. You can taste a little bit of nuttiness from the white burley that's in there, but you're not tasting like there's, you know, a bunch of burley in there, and you're not tasting like there's a bunch of perique in there. And although you can pick out all the individual notes and players in it, they all come together into this wonderful, full, flavorful experience that I'm going to shut up a second so that I can light. I already had it pre-charged, so you don't have to watch the whole ordeal. Housekeeping. This is a estate pipe I got from a buddy of mine. James over at Pipe Club on eBay. I've bought several pipes from him. ranging from newer ones that are lightly used to this is an older French estate. I think it's a festival. Nice old piece of briar. Really thick-walled, good-sized chamber. Ended up working really well for this. So good. And it's a little more open draw than I usually like, but with the bigger chamber, you can just pack it a little differently than you would a pipe with a smaller draw. And with this particular tobacco in it, it seems to really go well with this pipe. So it's a pretty piece of briar too. I think I paid like next to nothing for this. Less than 25 bucks. I think it was like $22 and a few dollars for him to ship it to me. I didn't intend to give him a commercial, but I've been pretty happy with everything I've gotten from him. This is probably the one I least love that I've gotten from him out of 5 or 6 pipes, and it's growing on me. I really do like it. I tend to be more of a bent pipe guy. Creamy. Yeah. It's really hard to just describe. I don't know if it's the stoving, the fact that it's been pressed into a crumble cake and maybe aged a little. But that is a fine, fine tobacco. It is a symphony of bold lat goodness, but not overpowering in the lat. It's kind of making up for the fact that my beer is not as dark as I would normally drink. Which, oddly, the contrast is quite nice together. I know there's a lot of tobaccos in the C&D line, and I guess that's the Captain Earle's line. I'm not really sure why exactly it's set up that way. Seems to be a nautical theme that runs with that. I think it's mostly a marketing niche. I don't know if it's a different blender or a different line in the factory. C&D makes and distributes a lot of tobaccos, and of course you got the GLP's line, which I think has a different blender generally, or group of blenders, and different quality control, and it's its own area of the factory from what I understand. There are people that just really trumpet that line but kind of turn their nose up a little to the other C&D line. They're like, unless you like mostly burleys, because they do have a lot of burley blends and blends with burley in them in the standard line, but they also have some wonderful lat blends in them available. Pirate Cake's another one I have, and which that is a lat bomb. You better like Latakia because it's 70%, 75%. Guess I got to yakking a little too much for it. I think you could probably see from the smoke that there is that lat richness. But there's so much flavor going on with it. The Virginias, I almost think they stand out, but I think it's the seamlessness from the white burley and the Virginias, and then highlighted with a little bit of the Perique. And there's a little bit of Cavendish in here. I didn't pick up on it right away. I actually looked. I cheated. But I know there's a lot of blends, and you can kind of get buried in the feeling like you've got too much C&D stuff or too many different things to try, but this stands on its own. If you see a ton of this, definitely give it a try.